My name is Jonathan Rietti. I'm working 23 years as an educational consultant. Most of my work is with the two populations at the two extremes of the classroom. The children on the supposed lower end of the class who are struggling with that subject academically. They are having a hard time, whether it's reading, whether it's blending letters and vowels, whether it's comprehension. And then on the other end of the classroom, you have those children who are very bright and understimulated because they understand the information the first time and now they're bored. In my 23 years working with these two extremes, I have never met a child that is not gifted. I would say that every child is dying to learn, and that good teachers are dying to teach. And what you're about to see on this presentation is a very carefully thought out al pi darko, how to follow the child's way, how to identify the child's way, his strength, his brilliance, his gift, so that you can teach. It would sound like an exaggeration if I said every subject, so I'm going to say almost every subject can be taught in his strength once you know what his strength is. If he's good at math, you can teach him English. If he's good with math, you can teach him Hebrew. If he's good with Hebrew language, you can teach him geography. That sounds like it's a bizarre claim, but al pi darko, according to the child's way, claims King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, Chanuch lenar, connect to the child, educate the child, train the child according to his way. According to Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, how can I begin the chinuch part of this statement? How can I begin training, teaching, educating this child? And the answer is I can't. Because I have to first identify darko, his way. Based on this, if I haven't observed the different ways children learn, I will not know how to educate, how to teach, how to reach that child. So as we know, there are different ways to identify and define darko. You have learning styles, you have learning modalities, and perhaps more recently, something that's being embraced much more than a theory, but rather as a working definition of the observation of reality. And that is multiple intelligence. That there are children that are born with more than one type of intelligence, and apart from the regular intelligence that we are used to, academic intelligence, IQ, intelligence quota, ability to analyze, to articulate one's position, perhaps superior to others, short and long-term memory. In addition to the typical academic intelligence quota, there are about 7 other intelligences. You have mathematical intelligence. That is acute awareness. Acute awareness are the two key words over here. Acute awareness of numbers, sequencing, patterns. You have musical intelligence. Typically, a good composer, musician, is gifted in music. That's acute awareness of sound, beat, rhythm. You have kinesthetic intelligence. That refers to body intelligence. A child who's got good coordination of limbs, legs, hands. Athletes are typically kinesthetically intelligent. There's spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence is very interesting. It's acute awareness of space, height, breadth, depth, color, contrast, shade. Typically, a child who is spatially intelligent will be good with his hands, with art. Artists, graphic artists, architects are typically spatially intelligent, gifted in this particular intelligence. You have language intelligence. Language intelligence is defined as acute awareness of words and their multiple meanings. It has nothing to do, zero, to do with spelling and comprehension and grammar. Language intelligence accounts for children who are good with their mouths, street smart. Kids are very often language. They could be failing language in school and yet be gifted in language because they're good with their mouths in their use of words and the multiple meanings that words have. typically good salespeople, and often very good teachers, are language intelligent. The one that's most interesting and wins the most attention is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence accounts for one's acute awareness of other people's body language, facial expression, and tone of voice. Someone who is acutely aware of other people and a switch in their mood or body language or tone of voice or facial expression, they are typically sensitive and able to back off or take more interest, be more concerned. For someone who's made that switch, they are able to hold on to friendships much longer than someone who would be emotionally unintelligent. There's another part to emotional intelligence, and that's intrapersonal intelligence, which is intelligence of oneself, acute awareness of one's thoughts and one's feelings. A child who is acutely aware of himself or herself will pick up very quickly if there's a switch in how they're thinking or feeling, and they'll adjust accordingly. Here's a question. In conventional learning and teaching, we have, for the most part, academic intelligence as the almost only focus of a child's success. And almost exclusively, a child is rated, marked by their grades, by their report card, by how well they do in tests. But is it possible that, for the most part, that only grades the intelligence quota, the academic ability at that time, but doesn't take into account the possibility that this same child may be gifted in at least 3 other areas of intelligence? And if they are not recognized, is it possible that this child's learning self-esteem could plummet, go down? What would happen if we were able to identify that every child is actually intelligent in many ways and then create a curriculum? Actual materials, physical, educational, manipulatives and materials that reflect multiple modalities and multiple intelligences. So that when a child learns in his way, her way, learns information based on materials. It sounds like theory, but we're going to do a lot of practical exploration that will demonstrate that when a child can learn in their strength using materials that actually reflect multiple modalities and multiple intelligences, the child becomes responsible for teaching themselves the information. So let me share with you the following. There are really 3 parts to the learning process. Number 1, we're going to call it the gift. The gift of information itself. That is my job as a teacher to give to the child, the basic information. But here's where it gets interesting. The second stage of this process of learning is the child's responsibility to review the information, process the information, understand the information, reinforce the information. The third stage in the process of learning is for the child to demonstrate mastery of that information. Those are the 3 parts. The most important of those 3 is not the teacher, delivery of the information into the mind of the child, but rather the child's process, darkai, her way of processing that information. I'm going to share with you a lot of examples of how that works. What I'm about to share with you basically are 9 parts of a curriculum, of which I will probably present to you about 4 or 5. These 9 parts of the curriculum cover every area of a child's learning. The first 3 I'm going to share with you are called foundational skills. Foundational means that all the child's future learning in the Chumash, Tanakh, Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha, Medrash, whatever a child will ever learn, the level of mastery they will be capable of will depend on their mastery of these 3 skills. That's why they're called foundational.